Welcome back to Roaming with Restless Women. Today, I'm honored to have with us Stacy Phillips. Stacy is one of the country's most well-known and respected family law practitioners, specializing in high net worth and high-profile divorce and custody cases. She colonized the matrimonial group in the Los Angeles office of Blank Rome, a full-service law group with 15 offices around the country and the world. For 4 decades, she has guided clients through matrimonial transitions, including divorces with highly complex financial matters, challenging custody disputes, domestic violence matters, same-sex dissolutions, paternity cases, and prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. Her clients include prominent celebrities, musicians, religious figures, business executives, and athletes. She is adept at navigating her teams of professionals through what sometimes turns into high-profile public discourse in the media and courtrooms. But more than a divorce lawyer, Stacy is a philanthropist, a thought leader, speaker, panelist, and a podcast host, a trusted advisor, and a published author. She wrote the book Divorce, It's All About Control. She's also a highly networked community leader. She's a sought-after commentator on family law and other issues in the news, having been featured in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, HuffPost, Law.com, and Bloomberg, among others. Welcome, Stacy. I am so happy to have you.
Thank you so much. This is very cool. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for letting me interview you today. I think we have a lot of listeners who are going to appreciate the wisdom that you're going to bring and the tips that you also talk about. So can we start a little bit with why did you become a lawyer and why family law?
Two different answers. I became a lawyer because my father and my grandfather were lawyers, but I fought against becoming a lawyer because I wanted to make sure I wanted it for myself. But think back, what were my options when I was growing up as a young girl? A doctor, I hate needles. Nurse, I hate
Okay.
teacher, not for me.
Mhm.
Flight attendant, not for me. Social worker, I could have done, but I didn't really know what a psychologist was. If I really knew what that was, which is different than being a social worker, I
Right.
probably would have done that. And what I do for a living has a lot of that involved. My
Oh,
mom had been a
sure.
buyer and a travel agent, so I knew the pitfalls of that. So being a lawyer was really something that fit my interests. I had a whole bunch of jobs in law firms and in government to prove that's what I wanted to do. And it is a really good fit for me. Kids these days have so many more opportunities, which can be also overwhelming. And if
Yeah.
I were growing up today, I might have made a different choice. Family law, different question.
Mhm.
I call it a God wink. Like there's something divine that sort of steered me in that direction. What do I mean by that? Growing up, I wanted absolutely nothing to do with being a divorce lawyer or a criminal lawyer because I didn't want the emotional baggage.
Oh,
Fast forward
yeah.
at Columbia Law School, the first year is all the classes they make you take. Second year, I got one elective. It could have been called Roaming with Restless Women.
Yeah.
I wanted to get out of the courtroom. I wanted to get into a courtroom. I wanted to get out of the classroom. I wanted
Yes.
to do things. And it happened to be called family law. And the big lecture class was taught by a regular professor, a tax professor, a psychiatrist, and a social worker. And if you took that class, you had the option of taking a workshop where you drafted, you negotiated, and you went through a mock trial in the trial court, which is called the Supreme Court in New York. So I took that. Again, I didn't care what the topic was. I wanted to get out of the classroom. So fast forward, the exam for the big class was, here are 12 questions. We'll pick 6. You can bring in notes. Go at it. So I was sitting in the stacks. If you remember, we actually had books at the time.
Yeah.
Stacks. I was working on the 12 questions and I took a break. So I was wandering the stacks, and it's not like they had Vogue magazine or the Wall Street Journal lying around. So I knew I was going to be in California that summer. So I wandered into the California section where there were books of printed cases. And in California, once a year, they would print all the published cases for California in these hardbound books. And once a quarter, they would take all the cases for that quarter and put them in these butter yellow softbound books about an inch thick. So I pulled one off the shelf and I'm flipping through it like you would a book of short stories. And I stumbled on two cases that, to what I do for a living, is what Miranda is to a criminal lawyer.
Oh,
These two cases have since been codified, meaning they are part of our statute now. And the fact pattern in one of the questions of the 12 was, what do you do when you have a property in New York that a co-op that's owned in the name of one person, but joint money goes into it, and a house in California owned in both parties' names, but somebody sole and separate property money goes into it. How do you deal with that? Well, these cases dealt with that issue and gave the history and the analysis. So that question ended up being on the exam,
oh,
and when
wow.
I gave the answer, I had this case that had analyzed it for me. It wasn't my brain. It was my stumbling on it. So I call it a God wink. Uh,
Yes.
because what drew me to that particular book that I pulled off the shelf? As a result, I got the highest grade in the class. Again, a divine intervention.
Yeah.
And at Columbia at the time, I don't know if they still do it, if you had the highest grade, you got a letter from your professor. Well, this is before computers, at least laptops, and we had big mainframes in big rooms. And
Mhm.
so I got an envelope with 4 letters, big fat envelope. I thought I was getting kicked out of school when I received it that
Oh
summer.
no.
And then people heard about me, asked me to be on a task force, asked me to do research. And then I realized that I would have a client with a heartbeat. And that was important to me, to be able to
Mm,
work with an individual and really make a difference in their lives. So somebody up there had this plan for me.
that's beautiful. And
As
so
hard as
no,
it is,
yeah, no corporate law for you then.
no, and sometimes that would be nice, because having a litigation budget or a corporate budget would be a lot easier
I'm
than dealing
sure.
with individuals having to take their own money. But
Oh,
as hard as what I do for a living is, I won't say I really enjoy it. I mean, it's hard to enjoy somebody else's pain. I enjoy making a difference in building relationships,
right. Well, there's
solving
a
problems.
lot that to me, there's a lot that having been through a divorce and watched the divorce of my parents, there's a lot that the lawyer contributes to your state of being
Yes,
and your
can
wellness.
make
And
a real difference.
so, yeah, it really does. I had an amicable divorce, not that there wasn't pain, but even today, when we have Thanksgiving, I invite my ex-husband so that my
Yeah,
children and their families can be around. It doesn't matter, it's just that's what we
I
do.
love my ex-husband, and I love
Yeah,
it. And yes, I include them, and we've done things all together, stayed in the
yeah.
same Airbnb when our son was performing. He sung with Andrea Bocelli twice. He's been in lots of,
Oh,
that's not his day
wow.
job. So very proud mama here. Um,
You
and
should
my daughter.
be.
So, but your parents got divorced. That's was a
Yes.
big deal then.
Well,
Not
yeah.
today, it's not as big a deal. Internally, it's a big deal, but in the community, it's not a big a deal other than small communities. But your parents' generation,
Yeah.
that's that's a big deal.
It was. And I was 13. It went on between 13 and 16.
Wow.
And I was daddy's girl. So yeah, it was pretty traumatic. But
So I remember coming
mm,
home one day to my parents, and I had been playing at one of my friends' homes, and she had 2 fathers. She had the
hmm
father who came home from the law firm in the overcoat and the hat and the briefcase and the suit. And she had the father who would take us ice skating. I grew up in New York City at Rockefeller Center, and he
hmm
wore a shearling jacket and a different type of hat, and like a cowboy hat. And like, okay, this is really cool. I came home and I adored my father.
hmm
Can I have 2 fathers like Kathy has? I can only imagine how my parents felt. But to me, because I didn't understand it, this was the best of all worlds, having 2 fathers that were so different. Cool.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I get that totally. But anyway, so once you decided,
Mhm.
tell me about the decisions that you made to get you to the leadership place where you are now.
I think that's just my personality.
Mm-hmm.
That's believe it or not, I'm shy, which you probably wouldn't know meeting me because I know how to engage. I
Mhm.
do enjoy that process. But when I'm first in a situation, I sort of observe and figure out where I can help, how I can help. And as we were talking before we were taping, I'm a big believer in mentoring. Because
Yes.
I didn't really have that other than I tried to live up to women that I worked with or observed. My dad of sorts was not of sorts, he was a mentor of sorts. But that was really important to me and important to me to lead. I mean, my philosophy is I am absolutely fine taking calculated risks. I mean, I started my own law firm, for God's sakes, had it for 26 years.
Hmm.
Um, and a calculated risk that I think about. I am absolutely not willing to be stagnant and not take risks just because I'm afraid of failure. So, and that's part of moving my firm into a big firm 9 years ago, July 1, into blank Rome. Um, Telling the powers that be, well, as soon as I got there, that we needed to have a women's summit or women's retreat for the women partners across the country and our women clients. And the then head of the firm gave it the green light, which has been a game changer for the firm and has enabled the partners. I said it's really important that the partners meet first because you can't sell until you know each other. And we're all over the
Hmm.
country. So
Yes.
we've gotten to know each other, and that has enhanced us as a group of women because women are not going to advance unless they bring in the money. It just, it's
Absolutely.
plain and simple. So you got to do that. And we, sorry, have to do it all, right? Raise the family. Although, interestingly, I am observing now that I have a grandson, that my son and my daughter-in-law are very equal in raising Felix. My son took off the same amount of time as my daughter-in-law. They had time together and then they each had time. He is an amazing parent. They both do everything. They both work, they both care for him. And the father of my kids was very involved, but still, the women do much more of that. I was very
Mm.
lucky. My mother-in-law lived with us, so she was our wife. She did a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's because it was important to me to be a leader and to take care of and help those younger than I am. Um, you just do it.
Right. I do think that, like you said, it is a little bit of a uh, personality trait as well as you can learn to be a leader, but I think a lot of it at the beginning, at least, look around for the bossy kids, look around for the kids that in a vacuum, they're going to take that lead and move everyone toward a goal. Um, I
And
find
being
it
a
very
manager,
interesting. Yeah.
and being a
Yeah.
manager is not the same thing as being a leader.
Right.
Um, if you ever read the book The E-Myth Revisited,
No,
it
I have not.
talks about that. I used to give it out. It's a very good book. But just because you make the best chocolate chip cookie and people say you should open
Right.
a business doesn't mean you'll be a good business person. And being a good
Right.
manager and being a good leader are vastly different. You can
Two
be a good
different
manager and not be
things.
able to sort of see in the future and how to evolve your
Hmm.
company. Um, so I
Exactly
think about
right.
that a lot.
It is true. And I think though that you can start to see the ones that the kid, at least at the kid level, the ones that have that kind of natural bent towards being a leader or wanting to compete to be a leader or whatever the case may be. It's really but yeah, managing and leadership are two different things. Definitely, having been a leadership development person my whole career, pretty much seen it in action. Um,
I've never
what?
said this out loud. I was going to share
Mhm,
something. When I was probably 9 years old, 10 years old,
mhm.
um, where I went to grammar school, every year the gym teacher picked two of the girls to be, it was a co-ed school, but two girls to be heads of the captains of the soccer team, and two girls to be heads of the softball team. And I wrote a note to the gym teacher and said that I would like to be one of the captains. And she picked me.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I saw myself as a leader and wanted to be selected as leader and wanted to maximize my chance of being a leader.
Mhm.
And I look back at that self and go, you go, girl.
Yes. And probably one of the decision-making things was that you actually expressed an
Ask.
interest in it and wanted it. So it also goes to that ask for what you want.
Yes,
And a lot of times women don't do that. They wait for
correct.
somebody, somebody to come down from the skies and say, "Oh, you are anointed. Go ask for what you want." No, 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 no. Go ask for what you want when you
You got
want
to
it.
make your luck. And I also gave our
Absolutely.
team a name and colors, that we all wore the
There
same
you
color.
go.
Like, okay, that was being a leader.
Natural team building.
Yep, yep.
Natural team building. I
I
love that.
remember doing a webinar, the very first one I did, and I was the only lawyer, and there were all these marketing people, and they met and they came up with a framework. And then we did one practice where I was supposed to sort of put the meat on their bones. I was terrified. I would have nothing to say. I don't know what I'm talking about. And as we taped it, as we practiced, and then eventually we gave the webinar, the timing was perfect, whatever I had to say. And I was constantly saying, oh, that's what you call it. I do this organically. I didn't know there was a name. Like you just do.
Yes, yes.
I think this
It's
generation has more names for things to do. For me, I just did and then found out later it's a thing. It's a name.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, how do you find collaboration in the newer generation? Tell me about that. You must have a lot of that in working with the women in your firm.
So one of the reasons I opened my own firm was, uh, and I just didn't want to be a sole practitioner. I took on partners because I absolutely believe in collaboration.
Yes.
Obviously, my story of being the captain and have a name and the colors is to bring everybody together. That is who I am naturally. And I absolutely believe that a group of us together are far better than me alone. I know what my skill set is. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And I want to surround myself with people where we can work together. Their skill set's different. I have to be smarter than I am. Really important that I surround myself with people who are smarter than I am, and not necessarily smarter in all areas. But for example, technology, forget me. Remembering all the statutory names, and I'm a much more high level thinker, but I also think in the weeds. So I do both, sometimes to a detriment. Um, so collaborating was really important, and that's why we have this Women's Summit, which is to work with each other and support each other and build each other. And for me, part of the motivation was when I came to the LA office of Blank Rome, I was older than all the women partners, and the one closest in age to me could have been my daughter. I went back east and I was meeting partners in the DC, Philly, and New York office. And I'm like, in the DC office, before I even got to Philly and New York, I met with women partners who are closer to my age. And I'm like, wow, I need to know them. They need to know me. We need to know each other. And the rest is history. Because I wanted to be a group, a force, collaborate. That's
Yes.
what I do.
Well, and it's very interesting that men also do that, but they do it more
Golf course.
this golf course, more sports, more it's a different way to collaborate, but they've been doing it for years and years and years. And I think when we came into the workforce, we looked around, we felt like we had to compete with the men as well as with each other to get ahead because that was just how it was back then. So we became islands in and of ourselves, unfortunately. And so we've had to learn how to be more collaborative and more supportive over the years. At least that's been my experience.
So one of the
Yeah.
ways that I mentor women is to say, you're looking at the business originators who are men.
Mm.
Don't feel you have to follow the way they do things. if that's
Right.
not organic to you? Do you like to speak? Do you like to write? Do you like to throw parties? Do you like to do podcasts? Do figure out what you like, and I'll certainly help you get those opportunities to do it your way. And
Yes.
I have watched many of the younger women that I'm mentoring, originations just go skyrocketing because they do it their way. They don't have to do it on the golf course. I remember father of my kids and I were having a conversation, and his like best friend at Harvard Law School. He worked in legal aid with him, and I would say, okay, does he have brothers, sisters? I don't know. What does he like to do for this? I don't know. I said, he's your best friend. You know, said we did sports together, we would talk politics together, but they didn't get to know each other the way women typically do. But I do agree with you. In my generation, certainly, it was not as collaborative with women. It was much more competitive, which is not
Yes.
who I am. I'm a competitive person, but competitive with. And I used to like have my jaw hanging open when women would do certain things. Like, why? And
Yeah.
I think this generation now understands better the power of working together and supporting each other rather than twisting the knife in the back.
I believe so. I think you're exactly right. So let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about tips that you might give to women who are in their 50s and 60s and considering divorce after the kids leave the house. Because that's a trend that I'm seeing, at least in my experience.
Well, call it the salt and pepper or the
Yeah.
gray hair divorces. It is not unusual when the kids leave and the two of you are left there staring at each other. When you have children, you have a common thing to work with, but you don't necessarily have to romance each other, support each other, communicate with each other, other than about
Hmm.
the kids or the house or the mortgage or whatever. And often relationships fall apart. People
Hmm.
have grown apart. If you read my book, you'll see all the different ways that couples grow apart. What's the cause and effect of that? And it's very scary to
Hmm.
change your life, your lifestyle. There are a lot of women who've come to talk to me who are generally older, they're more in the grandparent age, where they're miserable at home, but they choose not to get divorced because they don't want to have Thanksgiving, not all together. They don't want to give up their lifestyle. They don't want to not have family. And I get that, even though
Yeah.
they know their husband's having an affair or affairs, they're just going to turn their cheek, and because their family is really important to them. But if a woman, after the kids have left home, has not been working and is dependent on her husband's, uh, she may perceive as largesse, even though it's half her money.
Yeah.
It's very scary. And what is she going to do with herself? You can only lunch so much. If you play golf, you can only golf so much. And it's very scary. If you have enough money to go around, women are still very concerned because their life has been their family, raising their kids, being the missus if they don't have their own career. Okay, who am I? Where am I? Are my friends still going to want to go out with me? I'm going to be the third wheel. If you
Yeah.
have enough money, you can make things happen. You can meet people by traveling, by volunteering, etc. If money is to divide it in two is a struggle, you got that added, where you go from a nice house to a two-bedroom apartment in not as nice a neighborhood, and it's very debilitating. But
Yeah.
I try to help my clients think about the future in a very positive way. And if it is the woman's idea to get divorced, even though she's concerned, it's like a relief off her shoulders. She can take a deep breath and sort of focus on herself. If it's not her idea, needs some coaching to get to the place where it's something positive.
Hmm. What tips would you have for them to think about if they are thinking about divorce?
Get a good therapist
Hmm.
to make sure that you're thinking about this the right way, or if there are other ways to accomplish your goal, sometimes you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Think about whether marital therapy could help. Maybe talk to a lawyer to figure out maybe what you're looking at, because some people think that a divorce is going to be easier or the financial ramifications are going to be different. Do your homework. Divorce is a really hard process. Even in the best circumstances, it's a really hard process, and it makes you really rethink who you are, what you are, where you are, and you have to be prepared for that. Otherwise, you're going to want to, put your head on the pillow and cover your head with a blanket. So do some preparation, psychologically, emotionally, legally. Look at the financial things, educate yourself, and get good help. Get really good people on your team. And
Yeah,
think about it. And if it happens to you, you'll be okay if you get the help and the support you need from a good team.
I agree. I agree. When when do you when have you run into a situation where you wished you could have changed it, but it was a situation that was traumatic, either for the person, the people getting divorced or the children? Tell me about your worst case scenario that you've had to deal with.
I'll give you a recent example. I had an 83-year-old man talk to me.
Mm,
And I said to him, your wife, I'm sure, has already filed for divorce. She's 43 or is planning to. If you don't want your estate left to her, you should look at and consider changing your estate plan. I think you've been the victim of domestic violence, and domestic violence in California is not just physical. And you live in Switzerland, she lives here. You should explore whether, if you want to do this, you go forward in Switzerland. It's very clear he was not ready to make that decision. Emotionally, psychologically, cognitively, he was not ready to
mm,
make that decision. And a day later, she served him. And everything that I predicted
mm.
came true in spades. And it was overwhelming for him. It has caused him physical, emotional, and psychological ramifications, which affect his cognitive ability. It's been very expensive, and it's been very, very difficult. So
Mm,
I've been doing this a long time. I generally know what to expect, but at the same time, what I do for a living is not stagnant.
yeah.
Every case is different. Every personality is different. I've just done 3 prenuptial agreements where in 2 of them, or maybe 3 of them, I wasn't sure the wedding was going to happen because of the way the other side reacted to our clients' proposals for how to structure their financial relationship. Very aggressive in the comeback, and all 3 of them are fine, but it was touch and go. I
Wow.
really didn't think 2 of them or 3 of them were going to actually get married. So, and I've done so many of these prenup, but nothing is the same.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about what I do. It's not
Hmm.
stagnant. It's not cookie cutter. It's not boring. And that's what keeps it alive.
That's why I love consulting. In addition to executive coaching, I do change management consulting. So I also was drawn to the psychological and the emotional piece. And people going through change is just universally difficult, regardless of how prepared you think you are. What would you say to a person who is challenged with small children and going through a divorce? What's the biggest tip that you could give there?
Uh, Either challenged with the children or challenged with how to come up with a plan for the children. Let me answer it both
Challenge
ways.
Yeah, challenged with coming up with a plan, essentially.
So I'm a big believer in a few things. One, if the parents are willing to work with a custody expert together to come up with a plan, not just lawyers, but a psychologist or MFTT or whatever, to try to do that. In addition to that, or failing that, having my own client have a custody coach to talk about, is this feasible? Is this proposal reasonable? For kids this age, what do they need the most? What kind of structure? For example, there are different custody plans. Some work really well for teenagers and are horrible for young children, and vice versa.
Yeah,
So to get a sense of what a child at age 3, 5, 10, 14 needs, and most important thing those children need are parents not to fight with each other, to
yes.
collaborate and cooperate with each other. I've said to clients for the lion's share of my career, it doesn't matter what your custody plan is. If you guys get along and your kids see that you are a team and they can't play one off against the other, and that you work together, your kids will be fine. But you can have the best custody plan ever. And if there's incredible tension or fighting or bad mouthing, your kids will be a mess, because your
Yeah,
kids are half you and half your ex-spouse, their parent. So when you criticize the parent, you're criticizing them. Don't do it. And yes, some exes are no good ex, but you've got to be really careful
yeah,
because it's their parent.
that's exactly right. And I 100% agree with you having gone through that. My mother and father never fought in front of us or demeaned each other in front of us, which later on in life, I was very grateful for that. And I carried that on with when I got divorced and my children, I was very careful about that till they
But
were
if
old,
they didn't
till
fight
they
in
were
front of
old enough. No, they
you,
didn't.
but if they
And
didn't fight in front of you, you might have been surprised at the divorce because it seemed like things were okay. Sometimes that's
mm,
confusing to kids.
yeah, it wasn't. I'm a big intuitive. So when my dad pulled
You knew.
away emotionally, I knew. Yeah. So, well, we're getting close to the end of our time, unfortunately. I have three questions that I ask at the end of
Okay, go
every
for it.
episode. The first one requires you close your eyes just for a moment. And in your mind's eye, describe what you see when I say wise woman.
I actually just saw a picture of you.
Me?
But you said wise
Okay.
woman. It's fitting.
Yeah, okay.
And then I started to play out in my mind important women in my life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Open your eyes and tell me what about those important women makes them wise?
Um, how they navigated the time they were navigating,
Mhm.
how they managed to be successful in whatever way that was. Um, it was interesting. I thought of three women. One was my mom, who I come to realize as I get older, when I quote her, that she was very wise, difficult, but very wise. Love my mom. And two women who lawyers, one who's a federal judge and one who was one of the top trial lawyers in the state, if not the country. And watching how they grew over the years, how I've grown with them, how, I was a baby lawyer when I first met them. And here we are, 40 years later, and they're both coming to my house for a dinner party next month.
That's wonderful.
So that's who I thought of. I thought of you, then I thought of them and my mom. And it
Oh,
obviously, yeah, I hadn't thought about this in advance. This is what popped into my head.
oh yeah, perfect. That's why I do it. That's why I do it. Okay, where do you like to roam?
What do I like to roam? Um, all over the world.
Mm,
My
what's your
neighborhood,
favorite?
and I love to travel. Oh, my favorite country other than the United States is Italy. but I love traveling and exploring new places. I love to walk. I don't like to hike. There's a difference. I love
Yes.
exploring towns, villages, cities, and then sitting on a beach chair. But I absolutely love to roam, but with a hotel or a cruise.
Yeah.
I'm not glamping. I'm not in a tent. Did that as a kid? No, thank you.
I live in my RV. So we roam. Oh yeah, we just go wherever we
Wow,
want to. Yeah, it's simple life and I love it. I love it. We get to be outside a lot and I like
that's
that.
really cool.
Yeah, well, thank you. Final question. What makes you restless in a good way?
Um, when I want to accomplish more, when
Yeah.
I see an opportunity, I get ideas at the strangest times in the strangest places. And then I get really excited to see if I can implement it. And
Hmm.
I get annoyed at myself, like, time for an idea. But they come in strange ways and strange times. And then I'm a doer. I want to make it happen. Um,
Well, you are a doer, as is demonstrated in your bio, all the things that you do. I didn't get a chance to even ask you about your philanthropy, but I love
Very
that
near
you
and dear to my
do.
heart.
Yes, I love that you do philanthropy, that you're involved in the community and etc. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being on the podcast. You've been a great pleasure to deal with today. Thank you.
Okay, wise woman.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been lovely. And Turnabout's Fair Play, you'll now get to be on my podcast.
That sounds wonderful. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I want to be a restless roaming woman.
Okay.
You can't see his picture. You get to
You'll be the only
whatever.
guy I've ever had on the show.
He's my brother and my sister.
Oh, okay. Well, I like that. Well, thank you so much, guys. We
Have a
appreciate
great
it.
Nice
day
to
and
see you.
see you soon.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Julie Noonan here. Thank you so much for listening to Roaming with Restless Women. If you're a successful senior woman leader who would like to be on this program, please visit podcast.intuitivewisdomcoach.com. If you enjoyed this interview, please share this episode on social media and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your thumbs ups and reviews go a long way.